The Great Hunger was the worst famine in modern European history. The people of the island went from eating kilos of potatoes each day to starvation in just a few years. The famine ravaged through Ireland in the late 1840s. This famine was triggered by something called potato blight, a fungal disease that destroyed Ireland's staple crop. But why didn't the Irish turn to the sea for food? After all, Ireland is surrounded by some of the richest fishing grounds in Europe. And yet, in this sea of plenty, the country was devastated by famine. Let's start in 1845. The famine was triggered in 1845 by potato blight, a fungus, Phytophthora infestans, that decimated the potato crop. It hit particularly hard in 1846, less so in 1847, and again in 1848 and 1849 to a lesser extent. Now, this blight affected other countries in Europe too, but why was the impact so devastating in Ireland? To understand this, we need to look at what Irish people were eating in 1845 and Ireland's dependence on potatoes. Believe it or not, around 3 million people out of a total population of 9 million ate almost nothing but potatoes. That's a third of the population living almost entirely off one crop. Why potatoes? Because many people had very little land. And potatoes are extremely nutritious and grow well in poor soils. You could feed a family off just an acre of land if you planted potatoes. The quantity consumed was astonishing. For example, an adult male might eat 6 kilograms of potatoes every day. That might sound unbelievable, but contemporary accounts confirm it. So when that crop failed due to the blight, disaster followed. British government policy based on rigid laissez-faire economics made things much worse at the time. They believed in something called laissez-faire economics, which meant they thought the government shouldn't get involved in the economy. Because of this, they didn't do much to help. They didn't stop food from being sent out of Ireland, and they didn't give enough aid to the starving people. They thought the problem would fix itself, but it didn't. But why didn't the people eat fish? Many coastal communities were familiar with fishing. Many families were part-time fishermen who farmed potatoes and fish seasonally. But Ireland didn't have a commercial fishing industry in 1845. That means no infrastructure, no fish processing factories, no preservation methods at scale, and no way to distribute fish inland to the starving population. The reason that industry didn't exist: the British government, which ruled Ireland at the time, had undermined the Irish fishing sector in previous decades deliberately to protect British interests. After the Act of Union in 1801, which created the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, London began implementing policies that weakened Ireland's economy in favor of Britain's. In the 1820s, there were some British-funded efforts to support Irish fisheries, like building harbors and offering loans for modern boats, but this support was withdrawn. In the 1830s, to protect British fisheries from Irish competition, this was part of a wider policy of economic restructuring, ensuring that Ireland would serve as an agricultural hinterland for Britain, not an industrial rival. So by the 1840s, Ireland had coastal fishing, but not a fishing industry capable of feeding a nation in crisis. But things took an even darker turn. When the famine struck, many families were already on the edge financially, as the potato crop failed in 1845. People pawned whatever they could: farm tools, clothes, even household items. In coastal communities, fishermen pawned their net, boats, and fishing gear, hoping the crisis would pass and they could reclaim them. But it got worse in 1846, not better. Without their equipment, even experienced fishermen couldn't fish. So without the help of the British government, and not even fishing equipment, there was no chance of solving the food supply problem. This account comes from James Hacktook, a Quaker who visited Akil Island off the west coast of Ireland in 1847. Actor Aidan Crow reads his words.
While standing upon the magnificent cliffs of Akil overlooking the wild Atlantic, I saw the deep inlets and bays of that island literally filled with shoals of mackerel and herring. Indeed, the whole surface of the sea seemed to be completely alive with them. Around me stood groups of hungry creatures who looked down upon this inexhaustible supply of food, wholly unable to procure the fish to allay their cravings. One fishing boat and 3 or 4 seines alone were engaged, where there was employment for hundreds and food for thousands of hungry creatures on the island. Imagine it, food in plain sight, and people starving because they lack the tools to access it.
Would a fishing industry have saved Ireland? Even if there had been a robust fishing industry, it likely wouldn't have saved Ireland. Because of British free market policies, the government insisted that food, no matter how desperately needed, be sold to the highest bidder. So just as grain and livestock were exported from Ireland while people starved, so too would large-scale catches of fish have likely been sold abroad for profit. But what do you think? Do you think a fishing industry would have helped the people in Ireland? Write it in the comments.